Thank you, everyone, for coming. I'd like to call this meeting to order, the meeting of the Williamson County Board of Education on March the 23rd at 6:31 p.m. We will begin with board members acknowledging their presence at this time. Candy, do it again. Thank you. We have 11 present, 1 absent. We will begin next with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Mr. Galbraith, if you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I'd like for all the board members to go ahead and put as the last item of new business, we'll designate G, resolution and I'm going to have to ask Mr. Wimberly your help on which resolution that is first. Do you have that available?
Yes. One is Senate Bill 314, House Bill 274, and Senate Bill 1171, House Bill 995, Guns and Parks. And the other is Senate Bill 785, House Bill 680, warrants before searching a student's electronic devices.
That will be designated H, the second one, second resolution.
It would be designated as what?
Letter H under
Oh, letter H. Okay,
new business.
gotcha.
These are resolutions that we have discussed at the work session. They've been modified according to the discussions at the work session, and therefore we will go ahead and put them on the agenda for tonight. The next item of business is the approval of the agenda. If I could have a motion from the floor.
Second.
Motion is moved and seconded. If everyone could signify their approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Yep. Sorry, didn't have my glasses on. Mr. Hollett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Am I on? There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Hold on. There you go.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So within the last 24 hours, we've received nearly 40, and it might be over 40 now. I haven't checked the email in the last hour or so, emails from concerned constituents from District 12 who have asked for the censure of a board member. I am not making a motion tonight to amend the agenda. What I have provided for in front of you is a framework for that action, and I'm requesting formally of the executive committee that this goes on the work session for April to be discussed, and an offer of transparency and to make sure that everyone has enough time to prepare for the meeting. I'm providing it for everyone tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hollett. We acknowledge the receipt of that information, and it will be placed on the agenda for April. Okay. In approving the agenda, you've approved the following consent agenda items. Approval of school board meeting minutes, February 23rd, 2015, February 28th, 2015, and March 12th of 2015. You also approved the approval of recommendations for field trip fee requests and the approval of cross-country church lease at Bethesda Elementary School. The next item of business will be public comment. I'd like to remind the audience that during public comment, this is not a time to criticize or slander any member of the board or another member of our community. It is a time to provide constructive criticism. In saying that, sometimes it is unclear as to whether your criticisms are constructive or they cross the line to slander. I would offer this piece of advice, that you would say only what you would like being said back to you. And if you will keep to that, I'm sure we will stay within the boundaries of decency. There are 21 members of the audience who would like to speak to the board. We have 30 minutes allotted to this time. Therefore, we will try to provide enough time for all who have signed up. It will be very difficult, but we will try to keep it to 1 minute. I know that is not a lot of time, but it allows for everyone to speak. Therefore, after saying your name and stating your address or any organizations that you might belong to that are relevant to the board, then you will have time to speak. I will advise you when 30 seconds has diminished. At that point, please proceed to wrap up your arguments and your words, and we'll try to get through this and have everybody a chance to speak. Our first speaker. Yes, Mr. Peterson.
I'm sorry. We'll get right with you, Ms. Buffington. I just want to take this time to basically, I just want to make sure, I'm just asking everyone that that's here, that's chosen to, just based on the idea that we've got a lot of speakers, I just really want to make sure that we're here for the right reasons. And ultimately, if we're here basically to, we all know what's happened over the last couple weeks. I don't want to make this about one person or two people or even three people. If we're here to discuss something about the agenda, I would like to give those people the opportunity to do so. Otherwise, if we're here to basically just speak on something that we're all very aware of, I would just ask us to maybe think about whether or not we really need to have that discussion, or if we should just maybe stick with what we're here for, and that's the children of our county. So I would just ask that we do that if possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Ms. Buffington.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Dr. Looney. I've eliminated several paragraphs, so I hope what I'm going to say makes sense, and I will try to make sure that I get the final one in. I would like to read first the bill summary for House Bill 1280, the Spivey Act, which says it creates Tennessee Standards Commission to recommend curriculum standards to the State Board of Education. It requires the State Board to cancel any memorandum of understanding concerning the Common Core state standards entered into with the National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers.
30 seconds.
That means that there are going to be a lot of changes in the standards, and I'm suggesting that you have a couple of choices. One is to go ahead and purchase the textbooks, not knowing what the standards are going to be. The second one is to just do them on a pilot basis. And the third one is to delay until the April meeting when you know what's going to be happening, and the purchase order should not be submitted until you know what the final standards are going to be. We can't ask our teachers to have textbooks one year with certain standards, and the next year different standards, and the following year different standards. Purchasing books for
Ms. Buffington.
35,000 students without knowing what standards will be used does not seem prudent. Thank you for your attention and for your service to the Williamson County Schools.
Thank you, Ms. Buffington. You did a marvelous job putting that very succinct. Thank you. Our next speaker is Nancy Garrett.
I'm bringing my own technology. Hate it, sorry. I am Nancy Garrett, and I reside at 817 Countrywood in Franklin, and I am a resident of District 12. And I'm here tonight representing a number of people in District 12, and I am going to shorten my remarks thanks to Mr. Peterson's statement, so I appreciate that. But I'm here to say that I did attend the school board work session on March 12th, And Mr. Mesra stated at that time, if you have a problem with someone, talk to them.
30 seconds.
Don't go outside and share that problem. And Jay Galbraith followed with, it is not our job to go on the radio and talk negatively about Dr. Looney. These statements were very clear and there was no objection. We of District 12 want everyone here to know that our board members' appearances on national media, giving interviews and statements that were negative about our students, our teachers, our staff, and our board do not represent us. We are concerned that Ms. Curley will continue this, and we're making a public statement asking to stop. This is not mean. This is about drawing the line and saying no more. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Garrett. I would ask the audience to please refrain from clapping. It eats up time and it is distracting. Our next speaker is Amy Hudson.
Hello, my name is Amy Hudson. I live at 2615 Matchstick Place in Spring Hill. And I want to thank Mr. Hewlett for what he has brought up for the next agenda. I believe that I need to adhere to what Mr. Peterson brought up, and so I'm going to keep this brief. I do want to say that Ms. Curley has violated the Code of Ethics in multiple ways, including that based on Article 2, Section 3,
30
agreeing to
seconds.
maintain open lines of communication with the community. She has never responded to a letter that I've written. She has blocked me from her Facebook page, along with many others. Her focus seems to be on a group of concerned parents, and that's normally a good thing in a school district. I appreciate that there is discussion of censure, and that's what I'd like to ask, is that the board reprimand her. Thank you.
Thank you. You did a great job. Thank you very much, Amy Hudson, staying on task and time. Our next speaker is Ann McGraw.
Hi, I'm Ann McGraw. I apologize for my voice. Thank you guys for your time. My first time here. I have two daughters, one at Trinity, first grader, and a rising kindergartner. And I admit to not having been paying much attention the last year and a half in schools, but we moved from Metro for what was based on the reputation of Williamson solely. And what I have been seeing the last few months is deeply concerning to me, and I want to get more involved because of it. And I ask that the board, as our representatives, spend less time arguing and discussing things such as what our winter break is called
30
and
seconds.
the code of ethics, which I don't know how that's enforced. And please do something to focus on the actual education and well-being of our children. My daughter, it's been a part-time job for me to get gifted services for her, and she reads at a 5th grade level, and she's 6 years old because of lack of resources. Her bus drivers don't have substitutes sometimes. These are the things that affect our children and our parents, and I would ask that we just spend time on that and not any bipartisan politics or grandstanding for a national audience. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Ms. Daniela Kunz.
Hello, my name is Daniela Kunz, and I live at 132 Cavalry Drive in Franklin, Tennessee. On January 20, during the school board meeting, I pointed to a national award of the EPA for excellency regarding indoor air quality tools for schools program. And I noticed that most of the school board members and also Dr. Looney was not aware of this huge award that was granted to our school district. And so that's why I want to point again how important it is to actually bring forth policies so that this program can be remembered and not just forgotten, and that people will be aware who will be coming to our school district to work here, so that they will have a way to actually look up the program and also include it in the training of teachers or principals, so that it will be included. And I really ask of the support of each one of you school board members and Dr. Looney, of course, too. This is very important. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Robert Bauer. Sorry.
No apologies needed, sir.
Sorry.
Good evening, Dr. Looney, Mr. Mesner, board members, and central office staff. My name is Robert Bohr. I live at 1000 Grace Lawn Drive in Brentwood. I have 3 kids in Williamson County Schools, 2 at Scales and 1 at Brentwood Middle. I'm here this evening on behalf of the elementary principal group. In February, the parents and teachers serving on our math textbook adoption committee spent a lot of time reviewing textbooks and looking at the materials and things that were going to be provided by new providers. Those people on the committee were asked to provide feedback concerning the need to purchase a new math textbook. Of the respondents, approximately 93% of the parents were in favor of purchasing a new textbook, and over 86% of the teachers were in favor of purchasing new textbooks. Recently, the elementary principals were surveyed, and 95% of the elementary principal group felt the need to purchase new math textbooks. Presently, the materials provided through our current textbook are not aligned to the math standards we are charged with teaching. In order for our children to be fully prepared to be productive citizens in our communities and to be successful on the required assessments, we feel that teachers spend way too much time outside of their regular planning time gathering important materials and instructional items to fill in those gaps. Because of this, there's inevitably inconsistencies with what is being taught from school to school. So as an elementary principal group, we strongly encourage you to purchase the new math book textbook. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Laura Beth Russell.
Oh, shocked me. Hi. My name is Laura Beth Russell. I am a teacher at Franklin High School, and I am a parent of 2 adorable little ones at Perry Creek Elementary. I have a kindergartner and a 3rd grader, and I am imploring you to please purchase new math textbooks. We need them. I can't imagine my daughter going from her time now and not getting a new textbook until she's in high school. That just it doesn't seem right to me in terms of what we have the ability to
30 seconds.
acquire. The materials in terms of, speaking as a parent, as a math teacher, I know what to align when they tell us we're studying this measurement unit. But for other parents, they don't know what to look for. Right now, we have to look outside of the textbook. So this is weird up here. The other parents don't necessarily know where to find those materials to help their students. So having things that are all aligned, and the textbook publishers have said in writing that they will change if those standards change. They will submit those materials to us again. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Paula Thompson.
Good evening. I'll try to read fast. Uh-oh. Hey. My name is Paula Thompson. I live at 1022 West Main Street. I'm here tonight to ask the board to not only adopt, but to purchase the recommended math textbooks for our teachers and our students. As a 4th and 5th grade teacher at Scales Elementary for 11 years, and now currently I'm the math coach at Hunters Bend, I have firsthand knowledge and experience of the struggles our math teachers are facing. Our textbooks are currently not aligned to our standards, and we're doing our students a huge disservice by not providing them with the best resources and materials available. Teachers, should not be expected to spend many hours piecemealing together lessons by pulling from numerous resources. This time could be better spent serving the students directly. New math textbooks would do away with the inconsistency that we're currently facing, and it would give our math teachers a sense of cohesiveness that is desperately needed across our county. I've served as a liaison for our school, and I, along with other teachers, parents, and students, have invested numerous hours in this process. Students have indeed been to the public reviews,
Our voting parents include doctors, professors, business leaders, where math skills are a vital part of their jobs. Many of our teachers also hold higher education degrees. We are your experts, your teachers are. We are professionals and we're invested in this process.
Thank you.
I've yet to speak to one teacher who wants to return in the fall with our same math textbooks. Sorry, I'm
Well, yeah.
shaky. Okay.
Well, it's past time, too.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right,
Okay,
well,
please.
okay. In closing, I would just like to say that our teachers certainly need new math textbooks, and our students are certainly deserving of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Chuck Shelton.
As much as I'd like to speak on behalf of the defense of Susan Curley and the integrity that she brings to the election system by her investigation, I'd like to yield my time to former school board candidate Patsy Wrightsman. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Shelton.
My name is Patsy Wrightsman. I reside at 1117 Holly Hill. I watched a segment that was on Fox and Friends 30 minutes before I came in here, and I guess some people saw a different segment because there were three things mentioned. There was not a single member of the school board mentioned. There was a group called Williamson Strong that was mentioned. There was a concern about the amount of testing that is being done and the heavy focus on testing, and a concern about progressive versus conservatism. So I would like to know from this school board, when do you have the right to take away the First Amendment freedom of speech? Because you don't have that right. This board needs to be about the business of the board.
30 seconds.
I'm going to mention then I will mention one thing about the business of the board. It is my understanding Brentwood test scores came in at 1. That was equal to the virtual academy, which is being considered to be closed down because of that test score. I would like to know why the announcement of those test scores were delayed. And I would also like to know why the board wasn't notified before constituents had to tell the board what those test scores were. So I'm concerned about the board. I will tell you, too, I see it written over and over again that people without, she doesn't have children. I couldn't have children, but a teacher changed my life. If we can't have input from not having children, then why do you give us the opportunity to vote?
Thank you for your comments. If I could address the audience, I believe that I've already spoken to the fact that we prefer that you did not clap following people's speeches. It just does eat up time, and it is distracting. So if you could please refrain from making comments or clapping following other person's comments. Our next speaker is David Marshall.
Pardon me, I just had surgery. Hi, my name is David Marshall. I live at 1822 O'Reilly Circle in Spring Hill. And in light of Mr. Hollett's comments and those of Mr. Peterson, I'm going to forgo what I wrote here. And I just really, at this point, want to address the fourth part of that conversation that was brought up on Fox News and Friends, which was the vast left-wing conspiracy in Williamson County, and
30
saying
seconds.
that those parents who are caring parents who care about their children's education, that somehow we amount to a conspiracy. A few months ago, we were a mob. Now we're a conspiracy, and quite frankly, I am getting tired of being characterized as such. It is not a crime to have a matter of opinion that differs from yours. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Julie West.
My name's Julie West, and I live in the 12th District. Williamson County has a lot to be proud of. At the same time, there are a lot of things that should embarrass us. First, the fact that Fairview is listed as a focus school, which means it's one of the lower performing schools in the state. And that's in large part because while other districts were being given waivers, Our director of schools insisted that the scores from
30
unaligned
seconds.
tests were included. Brentwood High School has TVOS scores of 1, exactly the same score that has people at the Capitol talking about shutting down Tennessee Virtual Academy. And if you don't think the comparison is being made at the Capitol, you are very mistaken. The fact that activities originating in the central office continue to make it on national news, be deemed newsworthy from national news outlets, and the fact that many of these issues are not even really being discussed because so much time is spent attacking a school board member for doing her duty, for conducting investigations, for reporting what she finds in outlets that her constituents use.
Ms. West, that's time.
Okay, in closing, let me just say that her constituents appreciate her hard work, and it's whether or not she violated policy, which she didn't. Mr. Looney certainly violated policy and quite probably the law.
Ms. West, I believe you crossed the line there, and I would like for you to please, no, I do not want any clapping to that remark. I would like to advise the following speakers to please do not call out a board member or our superintendent or any district employee by name and chastise them. This is not this is not.
What
No.
did I say that's untrue? And then I'll sit down, but just, if anything was inaccurate and we're not allowed to mention it,
Ma'am.
what was untrue?
Can you have a seat, please?
Again, please do not particularly speak to a board member or the superintendent
What's happening on
or a
the flip
district
side?
or a district employee in such a way as to accuse them. And that crosses the line as slander, and it will not be tolerated. Our next speaker is Raymond Baker.
Taking me a while too, because I probably need surgery. I'm going to do this fast, so it's going to sound like I'm being accusatory, but I'm not, since it's such a short period of time. I went by the county budget office and pulled some numbers out, and I found, in comparing, that the Office of Superintendent, and that means basically the central office, of Williamson County has a payroll and benefit number that is twice that of Metro Nashville, while they have twice the number of students. In Rutherford County, where they have 30% more structures, they have 41,000 students, they spend $700,000 versus our $1.6 million. Now, I do not know how to judge those numbers. I'll admit that. I do
30
not
seconds.
know. Okay, don't know. But the problem I have, I've been watching the school board meetings for the last 4 or 5 months. There isn't a board member up here who can defend or condemn those numbers, because nobody asked any questions except one who is now having her right of free speech challenged by another board member. And I don't believe that he
That's
would
time,
do
sir.
it if it was a man.
Thank you very much, sir.
Well, you
Next
heard me.
speaker is Guy Barnard. Sorry, Guy Barnard.
Mr. Chair, board members, my name is Guy Barnard of Championship Boulevard, Franklin, and a parent of 3 boys at Perry Creek. I speak tonight on 2 agenda topics. First, I ask you to accept the recommendations of the Textbook Committee and purchase these needed textbooks. I was honored to serve on this committee and pleased to see parents represented. Parents include business leaders, community leaders, and of course everyone in their other duties besides their role as parent. Solely as illustration, I held a master's degree in maths from Cambridge, postgraduate degree from MIT, supervised about 600 professionals with STEM backgrounds. And as Tennessee law requires you to make the adoption upon recommendation of our committee, I wanted to affirm that the process was thorough and comprehensive. Vote to proceed with the purchase. Second, and this topic I know is sensitive, but I ask that you review personally the code of ethics that you are discussing tonight and reflect on why so many in the community feel that at least one of your number is failing in the pursuit thereof. In fact, I think this behavior is reflecting not
That is
just
time, sir.
on each of you, but also on the whole county. So please focus on the children of the district and hold each other accountable to this mission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is Kari Luce.
Thank you for giving me some time this evening. My name is Carrie Luce. I'm at 612 Pembroke Lane, and I'm a teacher, a math teacher at Ravenwood High School. And I was selected by my principal, Dr. Vaden, to pursue looking over all the textbook recommendations from the state level for adoption here. So as a representative of us, I would ask that you would adopt and purchase these books. I'm excited when I think about the opportunity that we would have to expand our creative resources, just the rigor, the relevance.
30 seconds.
Okay. It's very intimidating right here.
I'm so sorry.
Anyway, I just am excited about the opportunity that I would have as a teacher, which is the thing that I love to do, is teach my students and see them learn and see the joy they have when they've discovered something. I have a sister who has reminded me several times, remember to teach the why. And I go, of course I teach why. And I see these resources as getting deeper and more rigorous in that regard. And I also have had 2 daughters go through the system, which I'm very proud of. One who graduated from Centennial last year, number 8 in her class. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Laura Duddy.
Hi, my name is Laura Duddy. I live at 7108 North Lake Drive in Brentwood. I wanted to speak to you briefly tonight about 2 issues. First, I'm a parent member of the Math Textbook Committee for Brentwood Middle School. I want to urge you to listen to the overwhelming majority of this group made up of teachers, administrators, and parents who ask that you not only adopt the new textbooks, but that you also fund their purchase. The teachers are currently using alternative means, such as the internet handouts, rather than the existing
30 seconds.
textbooks, as the current textbooks do not cover the curriculum that they're supposed to be teaching. It's a waste of their time to find this alternative material and make copies for their students. It would be a significant injustice for the committee to have gone through this extensive process and for you now to not provide the teachers with the materials that they need. The publishers have committed in writing to modifying the textbooks as needed if the curriculum changes. Therefore, I can think of no rational reason why you would not adopt and fund these new textbooks. Second, I would like to encourage you as a group
Sorry, that is time.
to remember, just a minute, that who you are here to serve, which is ultimately the children of this county. Please put any partisan politics aside and focus on our kids. The school board is not a place to politically grandstand your right-wing views. Our children are too important. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Duddy. Our next speaker is Cheryl Wilson.
Good afternoon. This is a little different for me. I'm a past county commissioner. My name is Cheryl Wilson, live at 1907 Green Hills Boulevard. So I'm used to being on your side a little more. But I thank you for your time. I am representing sister cities of Franklin and Williamson County. And I want to let you know that this was a committee that approved a position, a Williamson County commissioner at the time, to be on the sister city board, of which I am still approved by Mayor Roger Anderson. Now, the way I got started on this, and I know I have a short time, but I went to Ireland with the Moore College of Design. I was there 22 days, and let me tell you, it was fabulous. But from there, I came back with an excitement that was just contagious. I mean, everybody got excited. And from that particular meeting, we became a county. County Laois of Ireland is our sister city. Now, we had a lot of fanfare. They came over here. We had no exchange students. My point is, please, please, not just support, but you got this to look over in January this year. Please, the sister cities of Franklin and Williamson County, which was added so that we could have the county participation, please support this so that our school principals in that area can have students come and exchange. It is so important, you all. I've seen some of the progress. Hope that you'll support us. And also, we're not asking for money. We're not asking for money. But anyway, thank you so much. Appreciate
you.
your time. Appreciate you.
It's always good to hear you. Thank you very much for coming. Our next speaker is Laura Hall.
Hello, my name is Laura Hall, and I'm a math coach at Fairview Middle School. And I'm just here to say thank you, everybody here for your service. I feel like I, too, am a public servant in that I work for our students and our teachers. And I just want to say on behalf of all of our teachers and the ones that aren't here tonight because they're planning lessons, we would really appreciate a textbook. And we would just thank you for considering that and taking some of that burden off of all of our teachers. I just want to say that on behalf of all of the teachers in our school system. They are professionals and they're doing the best they can, but it would be just helpful to have something that's cohesive throughout the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Elliot Wood.
Thank you for your time. I'm Elliot Wood. I'm from 1003 Whaley Court in Franklin. I would like to shorten my speech here, but just to say thank you. I've seen in the past few weeks, as I've followed along in minutes and so forth, the cooperation and work of the board to try and get past some of the hard feelings and political agendas that may have been part of things, and just to encourage you all that's enlightening or encouraging to parents to see that happening. And after hearing all of these teachers in support of the textbooks, I'd like to lend my support as well to that agenda item. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jamie Say.
Hi, I'm Jamie Say. I'm in 10th, but my member is not here today for some reason. I'm not going to say anything too bad. But, you know, I was reading through some of the tweets and some of the posts and everything. If you guys are coming to board member meetings, and I'm talking particularly about the legislative meeting, come prepared. You know, read through the notes that the chairperson sends, be prepared to vote, be prepared to discuss things. You know, everybody's got a life outside of this room. You've got to be prepared for it. If this is the position you were elected, you ran for, be ready. You know, I don't like to have a sack lunch to come and sit here, but I do it because I have to, I guess. And the other thing is, you guys need a lobbyist. We're the only school district in the entire state without a lobbyist, and you need it. It's not a bad word. That's all.
Thank you very much for speaking. Our next speaker, actually, Patsy Reitzman has already spoken. So our next speaker is Jessica Adair, sorry.
Hello, I am Jessica Adair, and I'm in the 9th District. And I want to speak today about what is important to our children. How appropriate is it today that it's the 240th anniversary of Patrick Henry's Give Me Liberty speech? What a better place for my children to see liberty at work than in the local government, as Williamson County Schools is a microcosm of what is happening in our country today. How dare Miss Curley question the motives of anyone who opposes our superintendent and his supporters?
Ma'am? Ma'am? Ma'am, I've turned off your microphone. I asked that no board members be singled out in particular. If you could please adhere to that.
Is it one-sided? Because before I got here, I'm the last person probably. Other people were able to speak freely.
Yeah, if you could just please keep it in general and constructive.
Okay. Due to the lack
Thank
of
you.
transparency of some unknown people, Ms. Curley filed an open records request. How dare she? How dare her exercise her constitutional rights by questioning the transparency and motives of certain people? We know the answer to all these questions. Our new board members have been personally vilified, demonized, slandered, and liable due to their sex, religion, and their beliefs. Ms. Curley is America at its finest, questioning government and exercising her constitutional rights. And I support anyone who exercises their First Amendment rights. To quote Patrick Henry, I know not what course others may take, but as for me, give me liberty or give me death.
Thank you, Ms. Adair, and please accept my apology. I did not understand that you were using facetious. You were being facetious and or addressing Ms. Curley's critics. That concludes our public speaking for tonight. Public comment.
Excuse me, is there any chance I could just make 2 sentences?
No, ma'am, I'm sorry.
New textbooks. It's just that all the standards are going to be changed.
Thank you, ma'am.
None of the textbooks will fit.
Thank you, Ms. Buffington, for your words earlier. We'll move on now to the next order of business, which is communications to the board. We'll begin with the superintendent's report. Dr. Looney.
Good evening, board members. It's good to see you this evening. Thank you, administrators, educators, for being here. Thank you, parents and concerned citizens. Board members, at the work session, I gave you a copy of the Profile of Excellence. I just want to publicly highlight that document again tonight and indicate that that is available directly on our website. The Profile of Excellence is something that our communications department has put together that profiles all the outstanding achievements, or some of the outstanding achievements, in our school district. I'd also like to call the public's attention and your attention to the fact that this weekend is the 2nd annual Fine Arts Festival of Williamson County. It's going to be held at the Factory. It is back-to-back, or actually simultaneous performances from many, many of our students. There are going to be thousands of people there. It begins Saturday at 10 a.m. and lasts until 6 p.m. And I do cordially invite all of our board members and members of the audience and those watching tonight. It's going to be a tremendous, tremendous day. We have a lot of staff members and administrators that are being highlighted tonight. I'm proud to report that we had our first day back from spring break today. To the best of my knowledge, it was an uneventful school day. So with that being said, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Birdsong and let her begin the recognition process.
We do have many, many students and schools and staff members to honor tonight. And we're going to start off with the Tennessee Chess Association Scholastic Individual State Championship champion from Brentwood High School. This is Alexander Quinn. His coach is Larry Kedai at Brentwood. Also, this is Ian Seal. He is from Centennial High School, and he was one of 2 students selected in the state of Tennessee to serve in the U.S. National Senate Youth Program. We actually have 2 students from Ravenwood High School who are serving in the 2014-15 U.S. Senate Page Program. This is Alexander Shramkowski, and this is Nick Mucci. And Nick is up there right now still serving. I want you to meet Sydney Vaughn from Ravenwood High School. She is a National Achievement Scholarship finalist. Now let's talk German. This is Shalish Sataram from Brentwood High School, National German 2 exam. His teacher is Emily Dawson, and this is Michelle Holtkamp, also from Brentwood, who had the highest possible score on the National German 3 exam in the Heritage Speaker Division. Again, Emily Dawson is her teacher. Now we're going to talk about the Technology Student Association competition. These are all state champions. We have several from Page High School. This is Michael Bianchi and Riley Cochran, and they are state champions in the area of structural design and engineering. This is Daniel Sokol, a state champion in computer-aided drawing in Dragster. design, also from Page High School. This is Ben Weaver. Ben is the state champion in computer-aided drawing and transportation modeling. And this team right here, computer-aided drawing and manufacturing prototype, this team, Michael Bianchi again, Riley Cochran, Ryan Gober, Cameron Midget, and Jared Teague. And their teachers are Beth Foreman and Jimmy Baker. Also, same competition, computer-aided drawing in 2D from Summit High School. This is Allison Baldwin, and this is Camden McNeely, and state champion in computer-aided drawing in 3D, also from Summit High School. Their teachers, Chris Schneider and Ben White. Now, we are going to talk about the Tennessee High School Press Association Awards, state championships. We had 12 of them. 12 of them from several schools. This is Samantha Rich from Brentwood High School, and she was awarded Best Illustration in the art category. Her teacher is Jan Little. From Centennial High School, this is Andrew Knight, Best Digital Art Graphic Design. Teacher is Don Merrick. Now we are going to talk about some of our media production students from Brentwood High School. Shayna Funderburk, who won for the best commercial. Ronnie Adcock is her teacher. This is Dakota Payne, Ben Sherrill, Caleb Howard, Jake Fisher from Brentwood High School, and they won for the best music video. Again, Ronnie Adcock. And then best live sports production. A whole slew of students it takes to put on your best live sports production, but here they are. And again, their teacher, Ronnie Adcock. Over at Franklin High School, very well represented. They won the best overall TV station at Franklin High School. The Franklin Media classes, new teacher there, Carrie Thompson, actually went through the media program at Centennial High School and is now one of our teachers. A little trivia for you. And so then Franklin also won for the best sports show. This is Michael Castellan and Christian Whittemore and Jacob Serban. And then Michael also won again for best short feature story. And last but not least, Franklin High School won for the best newscast. Carrie Thompson, again, their teacher. But Independence was not to be outdone. Best videographer, Parker Morley. Teacher, Matt Balzer. And best public service announcement, Anthony Bogdan and Noah Santana. And best video and documentary, Ian Huber and Parker Morley. Again, their teacher, Matt Balzer. We also do fabulous in the area of forensics, and that is not crime scene investigating. That is speech and debate. So please congratulate our National Forensic League Tennessee State Champion in Public Forum Debate. This is Sarath Prabhu. Oh, Sarath. I'm not even going to try. Rebecca Neenan and Sarath. And they are obviously better public speakers than I because they are state champions. Harriet Medlin is their coach. Rebecca Neenan, what a great honor for her as well. She was named the Student of the Year for this group. I should also say that Harriet Medlin's crew at Brentwood High School brought home the Debate Sweepstakes Award for the entire competition. Now, these students can go on to compete at the national level, and they will in June. Ravenwood High School also had a state champion. This is Andy Gordon. First place in humorous interpretation. Andy is a funny fella, and this will be his 4th year in a row to go to the national competition. Very excited for Andy. Brian Kaufman is his coach, and very excited for Ravenwood High School as they won the Tournament Sweepstakes Award. And Brian Kaufman, again, is the coach. Now, we are going to talk about music. I love this picture. This Meet the Franklin Winds. That is the name of this group. And they were selected for the Music for All National Chamber Music Festival. David Adelite is their director, Michaela Ray, Audrey Binnicker, Mia Uni, Meredith Adelot, Emily Sanders, Kat Olson, Christine Barnum, Madeline Vincent, Sam Stone, Megan Vincent, Claire Terrell, Maddox Myers, Chandler Wildler, and Chase Lance. Beautiful picture. And the Music for All Honor Band of America. These instrumentalists, Audrey Binnicker, again, Michaela Ray, Ryan Fisher, and Michael Hall from Franklin High School, David Adelot again. From Page High School, Rebecca Singletary, Music for All, Band of America again, Matt Emerson is her director. And then from Ravenwood High School, Dustin Lynn and Taylor Winkler, Music for All Honor Band of America. Mark Kinzer, their director. We have 7 staff members that we are honoring tonight. It is a wonderful night here, and we're going to start with Claudia Thorndike, Sunset Elementary School. She was named Tennessee Teacher of the Year for Teachers of English to Speakers of Other Languages. This is the second year that we have had a teacher win this state honor, so congratulations to Claudia. Also, over at Brentwood High School, Doug Anderson, he gets lots of awards, but this is for the 2015 Grosvenor Teacher Fellowship. And Addison Pate at Ravenwood, he was selected as a member of the Secretary of State's Blue Book Curriculum Task Force. Very excited in the area of athletics for Pete Miller, who is the wrestling coach at Spring Station Middle and Summit High School, as he was named the Tennessee Coach of the Year by the National Wrestling Coaches Association. And also Frank Barbary, who is the wrestling coach at Franklin High School. And this is a cool honor. He was named the Tennessee Wrestling Federation Volunteer of the Year. In the area of the arts, I saw Ms. Pfizer here earlier today. This is a wonderful, wonderful award for Priscilla Pfizer, the principal at Woodland Middle School. She was named the Outstanding Administrator given by the Tennessee Music Educators Association. Quite an honor for Ms. Pfizer, and we know how passionate she is about the arts. And last but not least, in our staff spotlights, this is Principal Kevin Kydell at Brentwood High School, who was named Principal of the Year by the National Forensic League of Tennessee. Wow. Congratulations to all of our students and our staff members.
As I close my section of the report, I would like for Gary Schrader to please stand. Gary, I see you back there. Board members, you may remember several months ago when we got the achievement results back for the district, and we learned that at Fairview Middle School something unique happened, and that is that their performance actually was continued to increase, but they were unable to close the achievement gap for their special needs students. What that means is their regular education students grew at a faster pace than their students with disabilities. But the school continues to make great progress, and I'm very, very proud of Mr. Schrader's leadership and your teachers and students. I just wanted to recognize that. I'd also like for Kevin Kydell to stand up. Kevin, Mr. Kydell, if you'll stand. Kevin, as you know, is the principal at Brentwood High School, and Brentwood High School has long been recognized as one of the best, highest, top-performing schools in the nation, and continue that. Kevin, do you know what your ACT composite score is as of right now? 26.2. 26. That completes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. That is a good report indeed. At this time, I'd like to recognize all the principals and teachers in the audience. If you could please stand, we'd like to recognize you and thank you for being here. As well, I'd like to thank our deputies, Deputy Gully and Deputy Hooper, for being with us tonight. Thank you for your time and your service to our county. Mr. Gregory?
Yes. I just wanted to tag on to what Carol was sharing with us. You don't always get recognized if you don't win the whole enchilada, but in a county not known for its basketball prowess, Brentwood High School boys really went above and beyond and almost won the state championship. They came so close. So I just wanted to recognize them for all the efforts. Coach King and his group, just fantastic.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. As well, I'd like to take the opportunity as the board chairman's report to also thank the students from Summit High School Triptych. That was a wonderful performance. If you're still here, I'd like to just say thank you. Excellent work.
They're doing homework.
Good. And then I'd like to remind the board members as well of the Arts Festival Mr. Looney, Dr. Looney advised us of it this coming Saturday. Please, I hope that you will all make every effort to attend. It'll be a good performance of art before us all. Thank you. The last bit is, as part of the board chairman's report, is our next order of business. The first item of business following the board chairman's report is the adoption of our code of ethics. I have placed my memorandum before you all behind some board policy. Ms. Curley, if you don't mind, I will let you speak after I'm finished. The first item of business following the board chairman's report is the adoption of our code of ethics, recently revised. I would like to address the board regarding two of those sections, and I would like to do so before the public. Firstly, Article 6, Section 3 states, I will refer for personal or partisan gain. Secondly, Article 6, Section 4 states, I will take no private action that will compromise the board, the district, or administration. It has been said by several board members that their involvement in organizations or their public declarations on certain issues are their personal business and do not fall under these two sections of our Code of Ethics. As well, they have said that it is their constitutional right to speak openly on issues with which they are passionate. To that, I would ask two questions. First, did your opportunity of involvement or opportunity to speak arise because of your position on the Board of Education? In other words, is the reason you have an audience for your opinion because you are a board member? Secondly, does your involvement or declaration compromise the board, the district, or administration in any way? As we all know, the Code of Ethics is our own creation. It is a manner of conducting ourselves that we all agreed would best serve the district that we were elected to govern. There are no guidelines mandated by law as to what specific ethics we adopt or don't adopt. It was entirely our decision, and we each individually adopted these ethics as our own. As well, there are no consequences for the violation of these ethics. It is assumed that we each exercise self-control to adhere to these ethics, or else it is incumbent upon us to apologize and repent of our actions when we have come to understand that we have violated these ethics. Life is complex, and our code of ethics is intentionally not specific. There will often be disagreement as to the exact interpretation of this code. However, illumination as to the correct interpretation is often prima facie. Often, we know how to apply our code when we humble ourselves and are willing to judge ourselves objectively. Finally, I would remind the board that we are the example that our superintendent and the district's employees look to in determining what is proper or improper conduct. In determining whether your action has violated the code of ethics, ask yourself, do I want our superintendent doing this? Do I want our teachers in the classroom doing this? The answer to these questions should sufficiently guide you on your behavior if you are honest with yourself. Thank you for indulging me on this subject. The next order of business is unfinished business and the Code of Ethics. But first, Ms. Curley, you'd like to address the board?
Yes. I believe I've sat here patiently and listened to the public on multiple occasions. A variety of things that I heard tonight would indicate that they did not even watch the Fox interview. I did not use the word conspiracy. I didn't use the word left-wing conspiracy. That was something that the writer of an article decided to use. For those of you that have been blocked on my Facebook page, I would ask that you take a step back and honestly look and assess the way you have addressed another human being. For some of you, a fellow mother. And ask yourself, what would you do if those comments were directed at you? I have sat here as fellow board members, have made accusations and said things in the press about not only myself, but others. And if standing my ground in stating the truth puts me in violation of a code of ethics, I'll be in violation every day. But I would ask that some of you in the public take a long look at how you are addressing another human being, because it is entirely inappropriate.
Thank you, Ms. Curley. Please, no clapping. The next order of business is unfinished business, and it is the Code of Ethics. It was recently revised through our retreat process, and it is now before this board in order that we may approve it and then sign this revised Code of Ethics. Is there a motion? Dr. Looney, I could ask for your recommendation.
I feel awkward giving you a
I
recommendation on
know.
this, but yes, sir, I certainly recommend it and will adhere to the tenets of it.
Thank you, sir. Is there a motion from the floor?
Move that we approve the Code of Ethics as modified.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Galbraith. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote. We'll be voting on approving the Code of Ethics recently revised.
Your vote is 10 yes, 0 no, 1 abstain.
The motion is approved. We will take a moment as the Code of Ethics is passed around to be signed by the board members.
Sure, quiet signers.
Thank you, board members. Our next item of business is new business. First item is 2015-2016 school board budget. First item, general purpose budget, page 42. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. First, thank you for your diligence and your hard work in going through the budget. And I know that you've been asking Mrs. Holman lots of questions over the course of the last several months. I do recommend that the board approve this budget, $290,464,993.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Do we have a motion from the floor? Motion to approve, Mr. Peterson. Second, Mr. Cash. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote on the general purpose budget.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 no.
Motion is approved. Next item of business is the central cafeteria budget on page 43. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. I am recommending a $12,101,388 central cafeteria fund budget. As you may recall, this is a self-sufficient fund and no county tax dollars are used.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Do we have a motion from the floor? Motion by Mr. Gregory, second by Mr. Peterson. Is there any discussion? Mr. Gregory.
I just hope people understand the good job that the food service team does, and this being a self-sufficient fund is actually a very big deal in today's world with kids wanting to take their lunch, and it just really speaks volumes to the hard work they do and the product that they bring forth.
Yes, Mr. Gregory, that is a great point. And Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. And I just want to say publicly, Mr. Rometti is not here tonight, I don't believe, but he was able to get a waiver from the federal government to keep our rate, our breakfast and lunch prices the same. So there will be no price increase for those two. Is that correct, Mr. Golden?
There was actually a state waiver of the
state
federal,
waiver, I
of the
apologize.
federal regs. The state was given the power to make that decision.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the central cafeteria budget.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Motion is approved. Our next item is the extended school program budget, located on page 43. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman and board members, I am recommending approval of a $4,329,965 extended school program budget. That is for before and after school care. They provide a phenomenal service. It is a fee-based service. There are no tax dollars used. Of particular note is that some of the monies that are received are used to buy equipment that is also used by the schools during the regular school day.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Is there a motion from the floor?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Hullett. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. We will now move to discussion. Is there any discussion on this? Mr. Gregory.
Just talk tonight. Just a question. Is this program available during the summer months?
Yes, sir. We do have programs during the summer. I do not know whether or not it's at all the same schools, but Mrs. Goodwin can answer that question.
We run summer camps, and it's located
Fine.
at various schools. It's not at every site.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote on the motion to approve the extended school program budget.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Motion is approved. Next item of business is the capital outlay request located on page 63. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. You've had lots of discussion about the capital needs of the district. I am recommending that you approve the capital request budget of $11,367,029.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Is there a motion from the floor?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Wimberly. Second by Mr. Hullett. We will move to discussion. Is there any discussion? Mr. Galbraith.
Well, first of all, just on the entire budget, I want to thank Leslie and her staff for providing answers to all of my questions.
You used all your chips, sir.
I did. So no more questions. But I'm very responsive most of the time before the I'll ask a question after hours, and I'll get a response before the start of the next business day. So just know that for Williamson County Schools CFO, there is no such thing as a business day, especially during budget season. So I just want to thank her publicly. So I appreciate that. And I just want to speak to the capital list. So what you see before you, because there's, obviously we have to, we ask for capital, or we approve a budget here, goes to the county commission. They have to approve it. They'll be meeting as budget and education committees over the next couple of weeks. And then ultimately as the county commission to approve all these items. And so there's been a lot of talk about the theaters that were in the works, and they've been put on hold for now from the county. And so this represents, most of this capital represents capital maintenance, mostly maintenance and replacement capital. A lot of it is for computer equipment that is 9 years old. And I just ask some of you, how many of you have a computer that's 9 years old that runs, I think Windows XP maybe might have been 9 years old, but so we've skipped over a couple of generations that are no longer supported, and so that's some of the capital that we're doing here. Some of it is also for Wi-Fi capabilities at schools. So we're asking kids to bring your own technology, but in some cases we're not providing them a way that they can actually access the internet with those technology devices. So I just wanted you to know that I've seen this full list, and this is the prioritized list. This isn't a wish list that we say, okay, well let's just throw it up there and let's see if we can get something approved and then we'll just deal with it. This is what we're dealing with after most of the stuff has been disapproved for previous years. So I just want to let everybody know that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. Is there any other discussion? Mr. Peterson?
I just want to quickly, for public comment, just to know that, we spent 35 minutes talking about other stuff, and we just approved, a $290 million budget without even a word. So I want everyone to understand that we do, we met, we had a full day of Saturday where we went over every single line item. We do an extensive outlook, even more so with Jay coming on. I want to appreciate I'm sorry, Mr. Galbraith, I apologize. Sorry. The questions were fantastic. I think I certainly learned a lot more about the process. But just so you know, we went through this, and I also want to tell Ms. Holman I appreciate all that she's done getting this together, and I agree that this is what we need. This is what we need. Certainly we could use more, but we're asking for what we need, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get that. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion to approve the capital outlay requests.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 no.
Motion is approved. The next item of business is the school board resolution. Architects, it's a new document that was handed out. You should find it. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and board members. We discussed this at length in the work session. This relates specifically to the theaters or auditoriums. As we have discussed, that based on what the County Commission Education Committee said, and Budget Committee, I think both committees, was it both committees, Leslie? I think it was. They indicated they wanted to delay their decision, and we have been working on a solution that honors where they are, but allows us to proceed with some of the work, recognizing that sooner or later the work is going to get done. The county commission has not said we won't do the projects. The question is, when will they do the projects? So we would like to go ahead and proceed with the architectural work, some of the testing, so that we can begin preparing for the eventual work to happen. This would allow us to do that.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. And again, board members, that is numbered 64A in the handouts you should have received on your desk when you approached. Do we have a motion from the floor? Motion to approve, Mr. Peterson. Second by Mr. Hullett. Is there any discussion? Mr. Peterson?
Sorry, just real fast. I just want to thank you guys for doing your part to make sure that we look at trying to get these taken care of, because I know that it's extremely important for the community of Fairview, and the high school being the only high school, I'll just say that again, the only high school that doesn't have one. So, and I look forward to the other middle schools getting theirs as well.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. And those middle schools are Page and Heritage. Mr. Galbraith.
And I just want to add quickly that, and this was discussed at the work session, and I see a lot of familiar faces, but some people didn't go through that with us. But I wanted to let everybody know that these dollars will not be, although we're doing these before we get the capital approved, these dollars will be effective when these buildings are ultimately built. So we're just going ahead so that we hopefully don't slow down the process. So when these buildings are built, whether they're this year or in a subsequent year, these dollars will be well spent and will not be wasted. So just timing.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote to approve school board resolution architects.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
Motion is approved. Next item of business is the Open Zone Schools 2015-2016. It's located on page 65. Dr. Looney.
I think Mr. Peterson should make this motion. Board members, first, thank you so much for working on this. This has been quite a task this year. We are proposing an out-of-county tuition rate for teachers at $2,503, and for those families that have...
No, sir. Dr. Looney, I believe it's on the Open Zone Schools.
Oh, well, I was trying to get there. I apologize.
65.
Page 65.
Okay, I've got it. Thought you might want to. Well, the public is waiting for this announcement as well.
Yes.
Dear board members, I recommend that the following schools be open zoned for 2015-16. With your permission, I'm going to read them out loud just for those individuals that may be listening or watching so they can get their applications. The application deadline will be May the 15th if the board approves these. Elementary schools, Crockett Elementary School up to 25 students from Edmondson, Kenrose, and Lipscomb. Fairview Elementary School up to 25 students from any WCS school. Grassland Elementary School up to 25 students from any WCS school, with first priority given to students from Scales Elementary. Heritage Elementary up to 25 students from any WCS school. Hunters Bend Elementary School up to 25 students from any WCS school, with first priority to students from Scales Elementary. Trinity Elementary up to 25 students from College Grove Elementary School. Westwood Elementary School up to 25 students from any WCS school. Winstead up to 25 students from any WCS school. Middle schools, Fairview Middle School up to 25 students from any WCS school. Grassland Middle School up to 25 students from Brentwood Middle, with first priority given to students whose residents are of the geographic area zoned on 11-13-13 from Lipscomb Elementary to Walnut Grove. Heritage Middle School up to 25 students from Spring Station Middle and Page Middle. Woodland Middle School up to 25 students from Brentwood Middle. High schools, Centennial High School up to 25 students from Franklin High School. Fairview High School up to 25 students from any WCS school. Franklin High School up to 25 students from Brentwood High who are residents of the geographic area rezoned on 11/13/13 from Lipscomb Elementary to Walnut Grove Elementary School. Independence High School up to 25 students from any WCS school. Page High School up to 25 students from any WCS school. Summit High School up to 25 students from any WCS school. Board members, I do recommend you approve these open zone schools.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Do we have a motion from the floor?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve, Mr. Wimberly. Second, Ms. Emerson. We'll move to discussion. Mr. Gregory?
Dr. Looney, we discussed at the work session if people who were going to apply out of zone could do that online. Were you able to figure that out?
I'm having a moment.
I can answer that.
Jason?
The out-of-zone process that's been set up includes the families delivering to the school their application that is time and date stamped. We could not, in that short window of time, develop an online system that we were confident could accurately depict that for us. Therefore, it is still this year a written application.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Mr. Galbraith?
You say the deadline's May 15th. What's the, when does it the open, when does it start, the application process?
Right after your vote.
Right now?
More accurately, that's exactly right.
Because it is, because the approval is based on that time and date stamp.
Yes,
correct.
And if I may, just to make sure everybody heard that, because I know some of the microphones weren't available. Ms. Emerson mentioned that it's tomorrow on our website at wcs.edu. You go to the parents and students, and then you go to Open Zone Schools. The link is there, and it will be made active tomorrow. And again, it's first come, first serve for that time.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith, and thank you, Mr. Golden. Any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the Open Zone Schools 2015-2016. Motion to approve.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
The motion is approved. Next item of business is the 2015 adoption of mathematics textbooks, page 67. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Board members, this is for adoption. A resolution for purchase is separate. So this is in order to adopt the math textbooks that the teachers and the parents have overwhelmingly supported to adopt.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Do we have a motion from the floor?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Peterson.
Second.
Second by Mr. Cash. We'll move to discussion. Mr. Gregory.
Well, first of all, I think the process, I hope, worked very well. I really appreciate everyone who participated. Anyone that can read a math textbook without being forced to do so is, bless your heart. But I was curious about on the one math textbook, Mr. Gaddis, if you could address, the vote was so very close. It was 51% in approval. Were the top two textbooks very similar in nature, or were there drastic differences, or could you just speak to that and why you think it was so close?
The top two textbooks, there were two of them that the teachers and the parents who were on the committee really did like. One of those was that Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, and the other one, of course, was the Curriculum Associates one. They were close. The Curriculum Associates text just got 41% of the vote, and the Harcourt one, or the Houghton Mifflin Harcourt one got a little over 51% of the vote. So the feedback that we got from the folks on the committees was that both of those were really good choices.
So there was no major differences in how the material was being presented?
They were relatively close. I mean, I can't say that they are identical, but they were close.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Gaddison. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Ms. Emerson?
Oh, I'm sorry. I appreciated so much the teacher that spoke earlier. I think her name was, when she spoke about how excited she was with the material. Having been in the classroom myself, you're really handicapped when you don't have the things that you need. and it's like a new pair of shoes. You know, when you pick something out, you get pretty excited about what you've got, and it generates a whole lot of energy for what you're teaching, so I understand that. My only reservations, I just want to be on record, have to do with the standards, but we've been assured by the companies that if there's any change in those standards, they'll make the corrections. So with that in mind, I'm excited for you too. I think it will help the math program. I think it's going to be a real shot in the arm for teachers that are teaching math. Elementary school is excited about it too, so I just wanted to thank you for your comment.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson. And thank you again to all the teachers who provided their comments and emails and opinions. We do appreciate every time that you guys speak to us. It is extremely valuable. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote to approve the 2015 adoption of mathematics textbooks.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 abstain.
The motion is approved. Next item of business is the 2015 purchase of adopted mathematics textbooks on page 85. Dr. Looney.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members. This is actually a first for us as a body that I know of. It's certainly a first since I've been here. The board has never voted on purchasing. The board has only voted to adopt. Because of the heightened sensitivity about textbooks, I'm bringing it to you for your consideration. What typically happens is you approve the budget, which has a line item in it to buy textbooks, and then we buy whatever it is that you adopt. So this is a little bit unusual, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing because it has been such a topic of interest in our community. And as I said earlier, when the process first began, I wasn't sure, whether or not I was going to recommend to you that we purchase. I needed to hear from the teachers and the people that participated on the committee. I actually did a survey of the individuals that sat on the committee to try to determine not only were they satisfied with the adoption, but did they think that we really needed to buy. And I will tell you, I was startled by their answer because it's rare that we get such unanimity on any kind of question. They were overwhelmingly in support of the board purchasing the material. There are two things that I want to make sure that you're aware of as you contemplate your decision. One, your teachers really want this, and two, as has been stated, and I'm being redundant, the books that have been purchased, particularly in the lower, I guess in K8, short of Algebra 1, are actually paperback versions. And so there are a lot of benefits from my perspective of why we would want to buy a paperback. They can be changed easily. If a child loses it, they don't have to pay $100 for a replacement textbook because we get new ones every year. So there's lots of, the students can actually write in the books. They're lighter, and they're easier changed if the standards shift. We have secured in writing that should the standards change in the state of Tennessee, that these textbooks will change accordingly. And I feel very comfortable that they are responsible for honoring their word in writing. With that being said, I'm excited to recommend to you that you approve the purchase of these textbooks now so that we can get the ordering process underway and have them in teachers' hands, if not before school lets out, certainly as shortly thereafter as humanly possible.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Do we have a motion from the floor? Motion to approve by Mr. Hullett. Second by Mr. Wimberly. We will now have discussion. Mr. Hullett.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We often talk, and sometimes at great length, about getting back to focusing on the kids. This directly affects our kids. It affects our teachers, it affects our families, communities, schools, everything, but it, in essence, comes right down to affecting our kids. They need these texts. For me, it's a no-brainer. I think that we need to support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hullett. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll move to a vote on the motion to approve the 2015 purchase of adopted mathematics textbooks.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 no.
The motion is approved. Dr. Looney, you may purchase your textbooks. Next item of business is the family tuition rate, 2015-2016. This is a revised document, and it will just hand it out to you. Should find it for you. Numbered page 67. 87. Dr. Looney.
I'm just making sure I have the right one. As I was saying, board members, thank you so much for your work on this important issue. It's important that our teachers, as all of you have agreed, are able to come to work and focus on the work and not worry about picking their child up 60 miles away because they can't attend our school system. Because of that, I believe that you have settled on an amount that is reasonable for this year, with the idea that we will continue to try to reduce it in the years to come. So I'm recommending an employee rate of $2,782 per family. And is that wrong?
2,000.
Okay, I don't have the right one then. So let me. Okay. Thank you. $2,503 for, I have just 3, don't have 80. And $5,578 for those families that are moving to the district but have not yet established residency. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Do we have a motion from the floor? Motion to approve, Mr. Peterson. Second by Mr. Hullett. We will now move to discussion. Mr. Peterson.
As most of you know, this has kind of been my issue for the last 2 years that I've been on the board, and I've pushed really hard to try to get our teachers the opportunity to come to our schools and not have to pay tuition. I don't really understand it. I still don't understand it, truthfully, considering we're the only county really that does it. But I want to thank Dr. Looney and Ms. Holman and the staff for really taking it seriously and doing their part and making sure that I believe that this is it's cut in half right here. I've always said that I wouldn't support a tuition rate, and I want to get it to 0, and I will do my part to try to make sure that happens. But I'm going to support this because of the work that the district put into it. And I want to tell our teachers that we'll continue to do this and hope that they can get their kids to our school system without payment. But I understand the concept of, the idea of property taxes, and I can appreciate the fact that this is solely what that represents, is the property tax. So I just want to tell the staff again, I appreciate them very much.
Thank you, Mr. Peterson. Our next speaker is Mr. Hullett.
Thank you much. Usually I like on this subject to just wait until Ken presses his button, then I push it afterwards, because usually all I have to say is ditto. So, but I do want to echo his comments, and that this is great progress towards what we're doing. I mean, he and I have always shared the same viewpoint and perspective on this issue, and this is great progress. And in the past, Mr. Peterson and I have stood against the measure when it's come before us, pretty much symbolically, but just because we didn't believe in having our teachers have to pay to have their kids go here. But now, as we're making progress towards this, I'm again echo what Mr. Peterson said, and I can also support this as well. And I thank everyone who put their hard time and their hard work and time and dedication into this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hullett. Ms. Emerson?
Thank you, Mr. Mazzari. As a teacher of over 20 years in Williamson County, this has always puzzled me. I've never understood why you as teachers are invited to come and work for this county, and yet you're penalized in a sense by having to make the decision about leaving your children with strangers or child care or aftercare school or before care and all those different things, which cuts into your salary. And I just want you to know that I am and have been committed to this for years and asking why this has to be. And we are, as a board, committed to doing everything we can to get this down to nothing, so that you, if you are working here, this is something that's an extra benefit for you to have that opportunity to have your children with you. You've got after-school meetings, before-school meetings, and you need to know where your children are and not leave them into the care of other people because you're caring for the kids of Williamson County. There's something, I think, distinctively wrong about that. So I want you to know that we are working hard to that end. And I'm excited that we were able to do this, but it's certainly not enough. It's certainly not enough.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson. Mr. Gregory?
Well, I'm happy that we'll be able to offer this reduced rate. I have a couple of questions about it. It says employee rate. Does that mean all employees of the school district in addition to teachers?
Yes, it does, and the employees' locations are based upon their actual work site. So out-of-county employees have that power. Also, county employees who work at a school site also are able to use this tuition rate as well if they live out of county. SROs are the main example of that.
And a follow-up question.
Could I clarify before you move
Sure.
on? That's full-time employee.
Full-time, thank you, yeah.
Okay. Dr. Looney, you said one figure and the document says another. What is the number? Just to be, I mean, is there an additional document we were
Yes,
given?
There's an additional document that's supposed to be in your table.
Okay.
It's $2,503.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Mr. Galbraith?
I just want to, for those, I know this is going to go, this is going to go to the county commission as well, or as part of our budget.
Yes, sir.
We are, it is included in that document as far as the revenue from that budget. So I just want to make it clear to everybody the reason, to Mr. Peterson's point, that most of the time there's no tuition offered. Most counties, they're going to get tuition. They're going to get some funding on a per student basis that from the state. Most counties are in an opposite situation of us, is that they get a larger amount per student than we do. So we get the second lowest in the state. So we're getting roughly $3,000-ish. $3,200 per student. Some counties might get closer to $4,000 or $5,000 per student. Even at $3,200 per student, plus the tuition that they're paying here, I personally think even at the $3,200 per student, it covers any incremental cost that one student would have to our schools. So you're talking about one student added into a classroom. And unless they push that average for that class over the average that would cause us to hire a new teacher, then they're not all we're paying for them is their textbooks and some supplies and some incremental costs that you have per student. So, you know, I just want to set people's mind at ease that I've seen it reported that this is going to cost us, quote unquote, you know, over $700,000. This doesn't cost us a dime. And so I just want to be clear of that. I understand the argument, and a couple of commissioners have come to me and we've talked about the budget, and this is one of their items that they're uneasy about. And I just want to be clear to you guys as the voters that this doesn't actually cost us anything. I think that when we do the math about how many children come through, and we already have a program, and right now we pay a little over $4,000 per family, so this is cutting it significantly. But I think when we look at what the impact of this, and I will, and I know Leslie will keep track of it for me. But I mean, we'll review this and make sure. But it's not the intention that these students are going to be coming on the backs of the taxpayers of Williamson County.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we will move to a vote to approve the family tuition rate 2015-2016 motion.
Your vote is 11 yes, 0 no.
The motion is approved. The next item of business on the agenda is the Superintendent Evaluation Instrument 2015-2016. Per our work session discussion, we have moved that and deferred it to the June session, board meeting, and we have provided for a committee to further investigate the evaluation and deliberate on it and provide a more refined evaluation process. They will report to the board in June, and I thank all the members who volunteered to serve on that committee. We will now move on to item G, which was added, the resolution. And I'm going to need some help. Mr. Golden, if you could help me.
I've got them.
You got it?
Which one do you want?
The 314.
I have them, pass them out. Which one?
314. Begins with the 314.
HB 274.
Yeah.
314, is that what you said? The guns one, is that the one we're doing first?
Yeah.
Okay.
I believe so. That is it. Okay. Thank you. Okay, the resolution is being handed out to everybody. Again, this is a resolution that we received at the work session. There was discussion at the work session to amend this resolution, and it was not voted on at the special meeting following the work session. It is now before the board as an item of business. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, there is one change that is not reflected on this document, so I'm just going to ask that you draw an arrow. If you go to the bottom third whereas, that should be the first whereas. So if you'll just draw an arrow up. Whereas the Williamson County Board of Education believes strongly in and supports the constitutional rights of citizens and the Second Amendment. You would need to add the language "and the Second Amendment" and move that to the beginning of the recital. I do recommend your approval of this resolution, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Is there a motion from the floor?
So moved.
Motion to approve by Mr. Hullett. Is there a second? Second by Mr. Peterson. We'll now move to discussion. Is there any discussion? Mr. Wimberly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Since we discussed this on Thursday night, there have been a couple of developments. One is there is an amendment being circulated that would, in effect, exempt schools from the Guns and Parks resolution, or for the Guns and Parks bill, in effect. So this resolution and should reflect that amendment and our support for that amendment. So I haven't read this yet, but
Mr. Wimberly, I'll take care of that.
Okay.
It's not there, but I'll make sure it's there. So
Okay.
we can actually do it here and get it on record.
Okay.
And then we'll provide a clean document.
So, well then, with the resolution, not necessarily object to guns in parks, but only guns in parks when
Yes, sir.
school events are being held.
And I apologize for that error on our part.
Okay. Let's see.
So if with your permission, I'll try to word it for you and get it on record. Is that permissible?
Yes. Thank you, Dr.
Can we
Looney.
do that?
I think that would be appropriate for us to read it out loud as
I think that will work,
changed.
and then we'll give you a printed copy.
Okay. Well, that's acceptable to me.
Would you like to read it, Dr. Looney? Or?
Yes, sir, I will. So, a resolution of the Williamson County Board of Education opposing passage of House Bill 995, Senate Bill 1171, House Bill 274, Senate Bill 314, and House Bill 173, Senate Bill 149, as currently written. And then we're going to say, whereas the Williamson County Board of Education believes strongly in and supports the constitutional rights of all citizens and the Second Amendment. I'm not sure if I can do this, Bill. You might have to help me. Might be more complicated than I thought.
Mr. Squires?
Mr. Chair, if I may suggest this, would it be permissible to allow Mr. Squires to wordsmith this and let's go to the other bill and then we can come back to that. Would that be acceptable?
You'd have to make a motion to defer this, to table it, to push it to move actually the next bill to the front. Would you like to make that motion?
Yes, I would like to make a motion that we defer this until discussion of the next bill.
Second by Ms. Emerson. We will do this by a hand vote. Those in favor of the motion to move this to the last bit of business and to move forward with the next item of business, the following resolution, signify by raising your hand. Those opposed? Okay, the motion to defer is approved. We will now move on to the next resolution. Okay. And that resolution will be provided, or is it?
I think.
Okay. Board members, I am sorry for the inconvenience presented here, but this was put together rather last minute as board members requested that be put.
No, sir, it's my
No,
fault.
it's not at all. I take responsibility.
No, I do.
Dr. Lynn, do you have the next resolution for
Yes,
the board?
sir. I apologize, I'm a little bit. This one I think is much cleaner.
Thank you, Dr. Lynn.
Yeah, that's right. Mr. Chair, while we're working on that, I don't think we have a motion on the floor, but I do have some updates on the bills that we passed resolutions on last week. Oddly enough, even though that was only a week or so ago.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly.
Would you, this will take me 30 seconds.
I think while we're handing out this next resolution and board members are digesting it, that would be great for you to provide some insight.
Okay, the SB 27, House Bill 138, the voucher bill for special education, which we voted for a resolution to oppose it. Since our vote, the Senate Education Committee approved the bill, but there was an amendment to the bill. And I just saw the amendment this afternoon. I apologize, but it does do some material things, apparently. It limits funding to state and local BEP funding. It sets eligibility requirements. It sets the amount of funding to be used. And there's some administrative things. So I'd like to ask Dr. Looney and staff to, not at this particular moment, but for the board's consumption and the public's consumption at some time, to kind of prepare an impact statement on this. Despite our opposition, if I had to guess, I suspect this bill will pass in some form. The other is Senate Bill 119, House Bill 108, changes to teacher evaluations, which we expressed our support for. It has been set for a full House floor vote. It's been scheduled for the Senate Education Committee. And if I had to guess on this one, I would say that it will probably pass. And the third one is Senate Bill 562, House Bill 598, which establishes a minimum of BEP funding of 65%. And considering the fact that we get less than 61% of BEP funding, we passed a resolution supporting the bill. There has been no action since our vote. It hasn't moved out of committee. If I had to guess on this one, I would say it will fail. So that's what's going on with the three that we have passed a resolution for. Have I stalled sufficiently?
I believe so. Thank you, Mr. Wimberly.
Thank you.
Okay. Board members, the resolution that is before the board at this time is a resolution of the Williamson County Board of Education opposing passage of HB 680, SB 785. I will go ahead and read it. Whereas HB 680 and SB 785 would prohibit a governmental entity from obtaining the stored data or transmitted data of an electronic device without a search warrant issued by a duly authorized court upon a probable cause, and whereas HB 680, SB 785 would prohibit a governmental entity from using, copying, or disclosing for any purpose any stored data or transmitted data of an electronic device that is not the subject of the warrant, that is collected during efforts to obtain the subject to the warrant. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Williamson County Board of Education opposes the passage of HB 680, SB 785. Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chairman, board members, I do recommend approval of this resolution. As you know, we have some real practical experiences in Williamson County as of late, as it relates to us using student devices to uncover criminal conduct.
Thank you, Dr. Looney. Is there a motion from the floor?
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Mr. Wimberly. Is there a second? Second by Dr. Bartholomew. We will now move to discussion. Mr. Galbraith.
So, Ed, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if we discussed this at the work session. Am I correct?
No, sir, we did discuss this at the work session. I believe Dr. Looney elaborated on the ramifications if the school district were forced to obtain a warrant before searching any student's electronic data, that it would be detrimental to the district. Is that correct, Dr. Looney?
Yes, sir. An example that I gave was the recent incident at one of our high schools where a gun was found. If we had not been able to look at some student cell phones, it would have hampered our investigation to bring that matter to a quick close.
Okay. And so, was there? I just can't remember the objection that was raised when we didn't reach unanimity on, or consensus at least.
Yes, Mr. Galbraith. I believe the individual board members who did not readily approve this resolution are here tonight, and they are able to speak to that if they so choose. Mr. Wimberly.
Mr. Galbraith, it was close to midnight when we discussed this, so perhaps it slipped your mind. No, I think we were in certainly majority agreement that this was something that we wanted to do.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly. Ms. Curley?
I like amendments, especially the Fourth Amendment. And I think that given the data that is on cell phones, given the fact that parents more than likely have the contract, if there's reasonable suspicion that there is something going on, that a parent can certainly come to the school. And I think there are opportunities to go about addressing issues with bring your own technology versus just having cell phones taken and gone through, especially given the amount of information that is certainly contained on those devices. And that was my argument the other night, and that will remain my argument, because there are processes and protocols in place in most corporate institutions to address this very thing.
Thank you, Ms. Curley. Mr. Wimberly?
Dr. Looney, would you mind explaining what we typically do when a situation occurs that someone feels like we need to check the device?
Yes, sir, certainly. And Mr. Golden and Mr. Squires can do a much better job than I can. But I will say we require our principals, our administrators, to have cause to search a device, and we also contact parents. We do not require the parents to be present when we search a phone, just because that's impractical sometimes. But we don't just do it indiscriminately. We do have to have cause. And once again, this is a very complex issue, and we certainly all agree that student privacy and privacy of individuals is very, very important. But at the same time, if we get into the place where we have to have a subpoena to look at a student's cell phone, I believe that's going to be problematic for the operation of the district. And Mr. Golden, you might be able to speak, or Mr. Squires, more about the search process here. It extends beyond just cell phones. The cell phone is, I suppose, no different than a locker or a car. So,
Well, if I may, the law that school administrators are under right now is the reasonable suspicion standard for searches. And the reasonable suspicion question is going to be based on all the surrounding facts and circumstances. And so in a cell phone situation, the question would be, is that student potentially committing a offense, or is there reasonable suspicion that they are through that cell phone? If so, that would justify the search of the cell phone. As I understand the way this bill is written, that would alter that standard to a probable cause standard, which is actually the standard that law enforcement officials have in their searches of citizens as a whole. So that's the distinction that we're facing. It would be a substantial change from how school administrators do their job in enforcing school rules, and it would put them in the same standard that law enforcement officers have in enforcing the criminal law or the comparable delinquency laws.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. Thank you, Dr. Looney. Mr. Wimberly, any further discussion?
No, thank you.
Mrs. Emerson?
I just want clarification. Does this handcuff the principals from doing a probable search, or does this enable them to, in a timely manner, do something that they feel warrants investigation?
this would prevent or prohibit principals from exercising good judgment and looking at a student's device.
That's what I wanted to know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson. Mr. Cash?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Looney, how often does this happen to where you would want to investigate a cell phone?
Mr. Cash, I honestly don't know that I can give you an answer. I can call on Dr. Farmer, who just formerly was a high school principal, and he can speak to his experience. Dr. Farmer, can you address that question?
Yes, sir. Mr. Cash, it happens, like Dr. Looney, I can't give you a number, but it happens more frequently than you may think. It really, as a principal and not as an assistant superintendent, it really will handcuff our principals if they aren't given the opportunity to do this as part of a protocol that's in place, not just, as you said, indiscriminately, but it's more frequent than you may think.
Would you have any guess at the amount of students that carry iPhones or iPads or telephones in the schools?
110% of them.
So they've got 2 or 3 on them.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So
I guess my reason for asking this is, you know, we talk about First Amendment rights and you know, the right to your privacy. But when you're dealing with, you know, let's say 30,000 students and the bullying issues we have, and many other things that fall in line with what kids do, I have to support this because it's just, we have got to keep our children safe. And if it means looking at someone's phone, there's going to be some innocent people hurt. When you're dealing with big numbers, there always is. But it's just, I think it's for the safety of our children.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. Is there any other discussion? Ms. Emerson?
Yes, you know, as we're looking at our policy and procedures for internet safety, I think this opens an opportunity for us as we go through these 7 pages to really seriously look at ways that we could write into this something that would be acceptable to parents, but it would certainly enable the administrators to do their job. When you're a teacher or an administrator in a school, your sole focus is the safety of the children in your care. And as a teacher, I know there were probably times when I acted because I felt it was the right thing to do, and most of the time, if not all the time, it was the correct thing to do. You've got people that are not going to look at phones and other things just without probable cause. And if they are looking at your phone or your information without probable cause, they really are opening themselves up for a lawsuit. So I think it's a reasonable thing, and I would not want to hamper principals, and teachers have a hard enough time managing students.
Thank you, Ms. Emerson. Seeing no further discussion, we'll move to a vote on the resolution opposing passage of HB 680, SB 785.
Your vote is 10 yes, 1 no.
The motion is approved. This resolution will be forwarded on to the appropriate legislators. Now, we will move to the last item of business, which is resolution of the Williamson County Board of Education opposing passage of HB 995, SB 1171, HB 274, SB 314, and HB 173 and SB 149 as it is currently written. Dr. Looney?
Okay, Mr. Wimberly, I'm going to take a stab at this, and if I fail, I apologize once again, and I'm sorry I don't have a better version for you. So what I have is actually the opposite of what that says, and what it says is this: a resolution of the Williamson County School Board supporting any amendment to exclude schools from proposed legislation allowing guns in parks.
Okay. Well, thank you, Dr.
Yes,
Looney.
ma'am. A resolution supporting any amendment to exclude schools from proposed legislation allowing guns in parks. So it's being silent on guns in parks. What you're saying is you support an amendment, any amendment, that would exclude schools from that proposed legislation.
Thank you, Dr. Looney.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd be willing to make a motion if we could change the word any to an amendment, because I think it would be unfair for this board to be asked
That's probably appropriate.
to pass a resolution that would
Sorry.
approve any amendment.
Sorry about that.
But an amendment, I think, covers it sufficiently.
Should I restate it for the group?
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Dr.
Okay.
Looney.
Brian, can you type this on a Word document up there? You can't?
Well, maybe. I don't think this even has Word on it. It'd be Notepad, maybe.
Can you type it in a vote so that people could see what the vote would be?
No, not
That doesn't look like a yes to me.
Okay.
Not now.
Okay, I'll repeat it again.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
A resolution by the Williamson County School Board supporting an amendment to exclude schools from proposed legislation allowing guns in parks.
Thank you, Dr. Looney.
Can you give us a second? I really want you to see it. So can we just go and recess for 2 minutes?
What, yes, we can. Where will we be carrying the whereas in the resolution?
Yes, sir.
The following whereas?
Yes, sir.
Would it be sufficient for me to go ahead and read those
Yes,
whereas?
sir.
Okay. While they're typing, I will go ahead and read the following whereas for the public. Whereas the Williamson County Board of Education believes strongly in and supports the constitutional rights of all citizens and the Second Amendment. Whereas Public Chapter 428 of the 2009 Public Acts of the 106th General Assembly, the Act, amended TCA, Tennessee Code annotated 39-17-1311 by removing the prohibition against carrying handguns in public parks, and whereas the Act provided that local governments could prohibit by resolution the carrying of handguns while within a public park or other recreational area owned or operated by that local government, and whereas the Williamson County Board of Commissioners did so, prohibiting the carrying of handguns in public parks and recreational areas owned by the county at its regular session on the 14th day of June 2010, and whereas the Williamson County Board of Education supports the current state of the law which allows for local governments to have flexibility and local control over the issue, and provides the opportunity for each local government to address the issue in a manner most appropriate for that community. And whereas HB 995, SB 1171, and HB 274 and SB 314 revoke the authority of local governments to opt out of the provisions of the 2009 Act, thus removing the authority of the Williamson County Board of Commissioners to enact such a prohibition on carrying handguns and firearms in public parks in Williamson County. And whereas most Williamson County schools use Williamson County parks for recreational and academic purposes, and whereas the Williamson County Board of Education takes the safety of all students, parents, and citizens participating in school events very seriously and regards safety as being of the utmost importance, and whereas the Williamson County Board of Education, whereas Tennessee Code Annotated 39-17-1309 prohibits the carrying of firearms or other weapons on any property used by a Board of Education, and whereas Attorney General Opinion Number 09-129 unambiguously opines that this prohibition applies in public parks during times when the athletic fields or other recreational facilities are actually being used by schools, and whereas HB 173, SB 149 would remove the prohibition of carrying firearms on properties used by the Board of Education, and whereas, as a matter of conscience and consistency with current law which prohibits the carrying of firearms or other weapons on school grounds and at school events, Williamson County schools shall not use Williamson County parks where handguns are allowed, and whereas if HB 995, SB 1171, HB 274, SB 314, and HB 173, SB 149 become law, Williamson County schools must consider canceling its use of Williamson County parks for all purposes, and whereas logistical, legal, and severe financial problems may arise if Williamson County schools cannot use Williamson County parks and must find or obtain alternate facilities, and such problems would threaten to disrupt a number of the district's academic and athletic programs. Now, therefore, be it resolved that, okay, it's good. A resolution, now let it be resolved that the Williamson County Board of Education supports an amendment to exclude school districts from proposed legislation allowing handguns in public parks.
Do we mean handguns?
Yes, sir. Can you eliminate the space?
Pardon?
I'm giving him directions.
Okay.
No, I was actually questioning if hand is the, and it guns?
Is it firearms?
Firearms.
Firearms.
Yep.
It is firearms.
I believe firearms would be the appropriate. Okay. So, this is a resolution by the Williamson County Board of Education supporting an amendment to exclude school districts from proposed legislation allowing firearms in public parks. Is there a motion from the floor? Motion to approve by Mr. Peterson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wimberly. We'll move to discussion. Mr. Hullett.
As I look at this, to me, we're kind of in dicey territory because for the times that this has come up, our local municipalities have supported us and opted out, in reality, for us, to help us. And now if we do this, and this bill passes and it takes away, let's say like my city, Brentwood, it takes away their ability to opt out of guns in parks, but Granny White Park can be exempted, or Crockett Park, due to games being played there. That's going to result in signage and some other things that are going to have to go up. And one of the questions I have is, the first question I have is, who fits the bill for that? Who's going to pay for the signage? Because if it is the local municipality, in essence, by supporting this, in my viewpoint, we're kind of sticking it to the folks who have supported us already. Do we know who would pay for it?
I can answer that.
Yes, Mr. Golden.
There's no law that requires the schools to place signs. So your question of who has to pay for it, I can't answer, but I can tell you the law does not put any burden on the schools to place signs.
So I guess the municipalities would probably do it in absence of us doing it, because otherwise no one would know, and they would know they're in violation of the law.
Dr. Looney may have a little bit more.
Well, I don't know if I can answer that thoroughly, but I can say I feel a great deal of certainty that guns in parks legislation is going to pass this session. And this board has discussed at length the impact it will have on how we do business in Williamson County Schools. It's a game changer. If there's a piece of legislation that's up there this year that's potentially a game changer, it's that. And so I agree that this is probably not the best play that's there, but I think it's our only play at the present time, and that is to try. And I alter the language for clarity, because what we're really doing is not excluding schools. We're asking them to exclude parks used by schools. And I think that's consistent with Senator Jack Johnson's proposed amendment.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Looney. Thank you, Mr. Hullett. Mr. Gregory.
Well, this is a tough one, and I struggle with it every year. I would support allowing firearms in public parks. I believe anytime you introduce legally carried firearms into any environment, it makes it safer for everyone involved. We're bound by federal and/or state laws that we can't conduct activities where firearms are allowed. So we're like in a horrible pickle that I don't see how to get out of it. If they pass that law and there's no exemptions allowed, then we'll just have to bite the bullet. Some schools will share fields, I would envision, for a while until funding is made available to, do what we have to do to accommodate that. I can't imagine they would pass a law would not allow exemptions, knowing we can't be the only district in the state of Tennessee where the schools use the county parks and city parks.
No, so there are a number of school districts, and in my conversations with the directors of schools, they have the same concerns. And you're absolutely right. In many situations, and I'll use Franklin Centennial as an example, the Franklin athletes would end up going to Centennial for games and practice in the short run, but the reality of it is in some other places, distance makes it impractical for us to offer that sport. There's going to be a conflict in law. The state law that prohibits schools from having activities where guns are allowed, and this proposed legislation. So for, as an example, Bowie Park, where cross-country takes place, I mean, we would not be able to use that venue. There are a number of other parks out there that because of distance from other places and our transportation challenges, we just wouldn't be in a position to continue that sport in the short run.
But legislators have to understand that this has a tremendous financial impact on districts across the state. I mean, what kind of feedback are we getting? You guys have talked to them maybe more than I have. Are they considering exemptions that would allow us out?
Well, the amendment that we're discussing and you might potentially vote on tonight is consistent with an amendment that's trying to get support for that amendment to allow school districts, parks that are used by school districts, to be opted out.
Well, it's such an important issue in the United States of America. I'm not comfortable voting yes or no on it. I mean, it's just such a difficult situation to address. So, I apologize. I can't be more decisive.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Mr. Cash?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I piggyback what Mr. Gregory's saying. It's a hard decision, and we had a lot of discussion about it at the work session. I fully believe in our rights to bear arms. And the more we give to legislation keeping us from that, the more likely we'll lose the right altogether. And it is a hard decision to make. But a question, maybe Dr. Looney or someone can answer, is what are you talking cost-wise for us? If they said that you're going to allow firearms in parks, what would it cost the district to reroute children or find other space somewhere or whatever we would have to do to make arrangements for athletic events and whatnot? What would that cost?
Yes, sir. The number I feel comfortable repeating publicly is the number that the Mayor Rogers Anderson has used, and I believe it was $38 million.
$38 million is a pretty good chunk of change. So it's a tough decision. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cash. Mr. Galbraith?
Yeah, I appreciate, Rick, you bringing this up. And as far as the amendment, I can much more support an amendment that would exempt the schools in some way. Like, I mean, I'm not so concerned about the wording as kind of the framework is that we need the schools exempted so that you don't put us in potential violation of the federal regulations that prohibit us from having things on school property. I think the reason the waters are muddied for me a little bit, and I'm completely in support of that proposal. I'm not necessarily against guns in parks. I think where it comes from is for me, the reason why it's so difficult is I don't think we can say as a school system that we're necessarily liable for our kids being in a location where guns are present. I think that's a very dangerous situation. And I'll use as an example, we have kids go on field trips all the time, and they might stop at a fast food restaurant, right, that doesn't serve alcohol, where guns can legally be carried. I don't think we want to get into a position that we say we can't allow children on school-sponsored events to be in places where guns are, because we can't protect the children in that way. And I don't necessarily think we're putting our kids in harm's way by allowing them to be in a place where handguns can legally be carried by citizens. But that's kind of what we're saying here in the fear around this issue. So I'm completely supportive of that. We're not trying to take a stand on guns in parks as a school board. We're just typically saying that it's detrimental to us as a school system on being able to function. I do have a problem with the $38 million, as Mr. Golden and Squires and I discussed before this meeting. I think that number, as told to me and discussed with me by my county commissioner, one of my county commissioners, I think that number is so highly inflated that it's just meant to say, hey, this is going to bankrupt the county if we have to do this. This legislation wouldn't actually cost us anything. It would be inconvenient. I think, and I like the wording in here, and it might cause severe financial problems, and we will have to find or obtain alternate facilities, and it's going to threaten to disrupt things, but it's not going to cost us $38 million in July if this thing passes. If we wanted to replicate all the facilities that we have, I understand where the number comes from, but I think it was very, very much overstated. And I would ask you, Dr. Looney, to refrain from using that number until you feel more confident that number is correct.
Good point.
Thank you, Mr. Galbraith. I just wanted to advise all the board members that if you push your request to speak, I do see it on my screen, even though it's not up on the board. So if you have requested to speak, I do see you and you are in line. Dr. Looney, I believe you wish to
I think
speak.
it might be good just to clarify, and I agree with you, this is an important debate, and there's a lot of variables involved in it. Title IX issues, whether you're offering equitable services to boys and girl athletes, so lots of issues. But I think I'd like to ask Mr. Golden to explain how the existing law would conflict with any proposed legislation about this topic. Can you actually read the law?
I can, yeah, well, I can pull it up on my iPad in just a minute. As I'm working on finding that, I'll give you a short statement of it. And actually, as the law is written, it will be quite lengthy. So if I may give a synopsis first. The 1309 code section that was mentioned prohibits use of or the presence of firearms on school property or at school events or properties being used by schools. There are a number of exceptions in the law, and this is part of what I mentioned. It includes law enforcement officers. It goes on down the line. So that's the basics of it with 1309 with us. We can't have citizens carrying firearms at a school event. The second piece of it, 1311, is what's the subject of the legislation this year. That's the guns in parks. That states that, as it sits right now, guns are allowed in parks unless the county or municipality opts out. And one of our board members mentioned that the municipalities where we have been using parks traditionally have all chosen to opt out. Mr. Hull had actually mentioned that. The gist of the amendments, well, not the amendments to those existing laws that are being proposed at the legislature now eliminates that opt-out, which means that all guns are allowed in parks. The Attorney General in years past has issued that opinion, as we've mentioned, that the school law still applies. So what we've done is created a twofold challenge from my perspective. One, legal handgun carry permit holders may be at a park where there's a school event and might not know that there's a school event going on, and they might inadvertently be committing a felony. That's prong one from my perspective. Prong two from my perspective is we have a responsibility to make sure that our school events are in compliance with the law. And while we would not be committing a crime if somebody had a handgun at an event, it is my opinion that we have a responsibility to do what we reasonably can to make sure that folks are aware that a school event is going on and that they do comply with the law. So that's that twofold problem that we're going to have if we are using parks. And so this is I'm also responsible for operations in the district as well as being general counsel, so I'm looking at it from both perspectives. We were faced with this issue a few years ago, and what we're going to have to do, in my opinion, is do a park-by-park analysis to determine, can we reasonably meet the two prongs that this conflict raises? Can we find a way to let folks know, even though we don't have a legal obligation to, that there's a school event going on? And can we be reasonably certain that people have that notice and that absent a decision, I'm going to act illegally, they're not carrying a firearm to a school event? And the difficulty that we're facing without having really gotten into the actual logistics of every single park is, it looks to me like it's going to vary from park to park and activity to activity. Dr. Looney mentioned Bowie Park in Fairview. The Fairview Middle School runs cross-country. That's a really broad area of a park where people are walking. Is there a logistical way for us to notify people, hey, at blank time today there's going to be a school event, you can't carry a firearm? I don't know the answer to that question yet. Fly Park, which is a softball location, has fencing around the softball facility. It's designed for fundraising activities with softball tournaments. Is there a way for us to give notice to folks that we have a school event going on at this location and that guns are prohibited now? I think we got a much better chance in that particular example. So that's the process we're going to have to go through park by park if this passes unamended. I don't know if that fully answers what Dr. Looney you were suggesting, but those are the kinds of Those are the kinds of thoughts that we're churning through as the legislature is thinking about it. And so we have a very symbiotic relationship with the county Parks and Rec department. Some of their facilities we use regularly, some of our facilities they use regularly. And so when this originally came up 5 or 6 years ago, I'm sorry, I'm going too long, but you can see that we've churned over this question. 5 or 6 years ago, when this issue came up, Parks and Rec were struggling with, well, if we're having a Parks and Rec event at a school, how does that apply? Well, I think that question has been answered. Guns are prohibited. School property, that law is very clear if it's school property. Again, the difficulty we have is making sure that we meet those two prongs.
Thank you, Mr. Golden. Mr. Hullett?
Jason, thanks for that explanation and giving us all that information. Just briefly, and this is part of my perspective to kind of give you a little bit more about my thought process. My dad was a police officer for nearly 4 decades, and I'm a firm believer in the Second Amendment. This bill is not about guns, and anyone who is suggesting that is discussing apples and Volkswagens. It's not. It's all for this board, and my time on the board, every year that we've discussed it, it's been about, number one, school safety and the safety of our kids. Number two, it's been about being in compliance with the law. And then number three, it's been the economic impact if we had to buy our own parks or build our own parks. That's what it's been about. It's not so much about guns the way it is often described. It's about student safety. So when you're looking at the resolution as written, and here's my hesitation, because every year that we've had a resolution opposing these bills, it's opposing because of student safety. Not because we don't like guns or anything else like that. We even say it in the resolution. We support the Second Amendment. That's what we're saying. What we're saying is it's about student safety. And to take that out, and here's my concern, if we take it out and say, and instead of saying we oppose these bills like we always have, and we say, okay, we support an amendment that will, take the schools out. Number one, like I said, I believe that it is sticking it to our local municipalities if we have to do signage for that, or if they have to. But the other part of it is what if at the 11th hour the amendment is dropped? And then all of a sudden, all we have is we supported something that doesn't exist, and there's nothing to say where Williamson County Schools stood against these bills as we have always in the past. That's why I'm in favor of keeping it as is and not worrying about the amendment. If the amendment goes, then great. But what we would be doing, we would be taking the same stance along with our local municipalities that we have the entire time, and would be keeping our kids safe and protecting taxpayers from millions of dollars that we would have to incur to build or buy those parks.
Thank you, Mr. Hullett. And just to clarify, the motion that is before this board is the resolution stated up above, supporting an amendment to exclude parks used by school districts from proposed legislation allowing firearms in public parks. That is the motion that is currently before
Can I follow up real quick?
for the board. Yes.
Okay, just to follow up, I support that, and I support the amendment, but I think that it also takes away from this board taking a stance against the something that endangers student safety.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hullett. Ms. Curley?
But we're still talking about the rest of the document as is, correct?
That is correct, as currently proposed
As
in
currently
the
proposed.
motion. Yes.
Okay. Well, first of all, Mr. Hullett, I believe that is your opinion on the intent of the resolution. And when I look at this, there are several things that actually jump out, and it has to do with language that is also included in this particular resolution. If you look at, as it's currently stated before the correction, let me see which whereas that would be. The fifth whereas, House Bill, where it starts to reference House Bill 995, that it revokes the authority of local government to opt out of provisions. And it talks about the prohibitions on public parks in Williamson County. Well, whose right is it to take away your right to protect yourself or your family? And, if that park is not in use, is it then just up for any municipality to decide one park or another? As I continue down, and go on to the second page, it talks about, again, removing the prohibitions on carrying firearms on properties used by. Well, what constitutes used by, and who declares that? And even if we may use it, if we're not using it at that time, what we're saying is anyone who comes onto that property, if it is used by the school, even if the school isn't using it right then, is going to be in violation of a law. And whereas a matter of conscience and consistency, you can't legislate evil. That's something that no amount of legislation is going to stop. No bill, no resolution. As a matter of fact, in the Colorado theater shooting, they were able to find that the shooter actually sought out a theater that did not allow permit to carry holders. So, not only are there a lot of things that there's a lot of intricate details about the execution and how this would go about, or how this may be rolled out. I'm sure that we aren't the only ones having those conversations. It certainly sounds like it, but I believe there's other language in this resolution that I could not agree with.
Thank you, Mrs. Curley. Dr. Bartholomew.
Listening to all of the discussion back and forth, there tends to be a little smack of presumption that one who carries firearms is careless, is not cognitive of the security of the people around him. They pay taxes. As the county school system wants to be able to use properties that they pay well for in the area of taxes, there is a large segment of the population also that may have no other place to go to be able to carry a legal weapon. I am 100% for the security of our children, but the way that our Constitution erodes is that consistent, incremental wearing away of any single amendment. First Amendment, and certainly the Second Amendment are prime examples of that. I don't know an easy solution, but I'm sure that there are those who, if they saw children around, would not carry a weapon around them. If there was a way of posting, a way of secluding a section of a park, some of the parks are rather large and can actually accompany many different kinds of activities, that I think we need to be careful of the act that we don't continue to incrementally erode an amendment, which in this case would be the second. In a sense, you may say it's not about guns, but in fact it is. And guns and the security of our children. So I think we have to look at it not from a perspective of fear. Many people, when you speak of the Second Amendment or someone owns firearms, there's an inherent fear that rises up within them. I can understand that in some cases. But by the same token, the rights of those who carry firearms needs to be observed also. So I think we need to have a little of Solomon's wisdom in the constructing of such a resolution. If we can do that, I could support it. If it was a blatant no way, no how, I'd have difficulty doing that.
Thank you, Dr. Bartholomew. Mr. Golden?
Dr. Bartholomew, you actually mentioned the question of what does it mean used by?
Pardon?
You mentioned the question of what does it mean to be used by the schools? The
Yes.
Attorney General was asked that question and issued an opinion on that. So I thought I'd just answer at least that part of what you described. This is Attorney General Opinion 09-160. And the question was, please clarify the phrase actually being used by schools as used in a prior AG opinion. And that the AG opinion states a school is using the park when students and administrators are present on park grounds and are using park facilities for a school-sponsored activity. That's the AG's description of that.
That gets to be rather general and somewhat obscure, which is quite typical of many laws, rules, policies, etc. If there's a way of clarifying that, or somehow in a resolution, consider both sides.
Thank you, Dr. Bartholomew. Mr. Wimberly.
I have nothing else to say.
Thank you, Mr. Wimberly. Mr. Peterson?
Yeah, I'd like to call the question, please.
There's a call to question. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Wimberly. All those in favor of the call to question signify by raising your hand. Those opposed? The call to question carries. We will now proceed to a vote. On the resolution, as presented, a resolution by the Williamson County School Board supporting an amendment to exclude parks used by school districts from proposed legislation allowing firearms in public parks. Board members, proceed with the voting.
Your vote is 7 yes, 4 no.
The motion is approved on the resolution as stated. This concludes the business of the Williamson County Board of Education. Call this meeting adjourned.